Good evening. I'm Mac, hang around, devoted Christian. I am doing my second half of the Galatians challenge, the fruits of the Spirit. Last week was fruits of the flesh. This one's fruits of the Spirit. All right, so let's get started. So, first part of the challenge is list fruits of the Spirit. So, those are joy, love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. All right. Then we're supposed to contrast the fruits of the flesh versus the fruits of the Spirit. So for me, the fruits of the Spirit are different because these are of God. The Spirit is God. Okay, so the 3-in-1, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. These are the fruits produced in you or outwardly from you because of the Holy Spirit, which means these are of God, not of the flesh. And I put down here, when being faithful as a Christian, these are produced and please God. These are produced and pleased God, which I said. The fruit of the flesh are of human and are imperfect, not of God. So, when humans get involved, which means our flesh, we dirty things up. We don't do it right. I mean, it's just the way it is. And with the fruits of the Spirit is God, and that is the fruits that those are good. Those please God. All right, so it says give two biblical examples. One was Noah in Genesis. Now, I use both of mine for faithfulness because, Noah in Genesis. Now, he listened to God, built the ark exactly the way God told him to do it, and him and his family were saved. Everyone else died. Everything else died, except for the animals on the boat and his family and him. So that's a blessing that he lived, but it's also a blessing that he went on to multiply. So we could all be blessed for that. So, all right. And my second one is the walls of Jericho, when God told Joshua to take his army, march around the city for 7 days, and on the seventh day, Jericho's walls fell, and they blew the horns, and Jericho was delivered to them. That is just obedience and faithfulness again. He listened to God. Okay, so then part 2 would be to pick one fruit and give two examples of the fruit. I picked love. And two examples biblically. One being Ruth with Naomi. She stayed with Ruth stayed with Naomi after all the death happening in her family, and she was alone. And because of that, Ruth got blessed, met Boaz, and first of all, her and Ruth got to eat. That was the first thing when she went out looking for food. That's how she met Boaz, and then he gave her special permissions on how she could eat. And then they got to really know each other and get blessings from Boaz. But then Boaz fell in love with her, married her because of her saw how faithful she was. And then her family that had passed away had not necessarily the same people, but she had gotten a family back that had been restored because of her faithfulness. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And then another example of love is God. God, John 3:16, he sent his son to die for us. Why? Because he loved us. Throughout the entire Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, don't matter. It shows how, even though God has been very angry with us, he has kept us here. He could just, flick his fingers and we're gone. But no, he loves us. And so much so that he sent his one and only son to die for us and go through the whole gospel, and then everything from there. I mean, just If that ain't love, I don't know what is there. So, all right. So the next part was pick a fruit for development. So pick a fruit in my life that I could use for development. Um, so I picked patience. And by patience, what I mean is, my example would be praying and slowing down, listening, and looking for what God is telling you. So when you're going through trials, it's because God is trying to tell you and teach you and mold you to make you stronger for something else. And all that does is just get you closer to Him. So my example for that my biblical verse would be Romans 12:12. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in affliction. Be persistent in prayer. Stay in prayer. Slow down. Listen to what God's saying. He is teaching you. He is speaking to you. He is telling you. You just got to look out for it. And I'm telling you, if you just do these things, it'll get you through. So patience for that. All right. And then the next part would be why knowing the flesh of fruit and the spirit, fruits of the spirit are important, and then get some scripture to back that up. Okay. This is for me. You got to recognize these differences, the fruits of the flesh and the fruits of the spirit, because one, just adapting them to your life, first of all, knowing the differences, and then adapting the right things to your life. That's what pleases God. And knowing that you're saved through that. That's some of the examples of knowing that you're saved because you have the Holy Spirit. Then some of these, when you're trying to, my next example would be when you see something that somebody else is doing that you know is wrong, and maybe they're not led to Christ, you don't know. So you recognize what it is because you've either been through it, going through it, or you know the fruits, you know this knowledge. And so that's how you can help people, by spreading the gospel, by using examples of fruits of the spirit versus what the fruits of the flesh is. And again, recognizing that in your head and in your heart and saying, look, this is what I can do for you. This is the examples that I have, and you can back it up biblically, and you can actually show the fruits of the spirit and the fruits of the flesh and why they contrast to somebody else. So, getting other people through, helping others, using this to help other people. And then my biblical example for that would be Matthew 7:18. Jesus said this, a good tree cannot produce bad fruit. So if you have the Spirit, you cannot produce bad fruit. Likewise, neither can a bad tree produce good fruit. So if you are practicing fruits of the flesh, you will not be having any fruits of the Spirit, and they cannot mesh, like I said in the last video. So that is what I did for this. This is what I got out of it. I hope y'all like it. Thank you.